Welcome to this Thirsty Thursday edition of Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco coming to you today from Midtown Manhattan, the Newsmax headquarters. And as always, we're coming to you from the Question Tequila Studios. Downtown Manhattan on Wall Street, the New York Stock Exchange is shaking off a rough day yesterday. And we've been speaking about this for the last couple of weeks, waiting on Fed Chairman Powell's decision on whether he was going to cut interest rates. He did turn around yesterday. I was hoping for 50 basis points. He cut 25 basis points, which was basically 100% priced in. And because he made some weird comments in his press conference at 2:30, the market went wild and it was all bad. It tanked miserably because he suggested that this was a mid-cycle adjustment, and the market took that as, well, maybe he may not make another cut till the end of the year, and that sold off. I think the immediate, I always say when you have these big sell-offs, I always say namaste, stay calm. And today the Dow is up 300, recovering nicely from yesterday's Fed cut, which is good news. And we'll talk a lot more about later on how the Fed cut, as Danielle DiMartino Booth spoke about the other day. The Fed also cut the interest rate that they pay banks on their reserves. So it's going to cost you a little less going forward, and if you're a saver who relies on interest income, your income is going to go down just a little bit. And going back up is when I bring in the managing editor of Liquid.
Thank you. Thank you. If you're a saver and you rely on that for your income, then you're doing just fine, because interest rates have been so low for so long that there is nobody, unless you're a billionaire, that is able to live off of their savings, which points to exactly the problem with this addiction the Federal Reserve has to these low interest rates. They're not even low interest rates. They're super low interest rates. Crazy Eddie didn't have prices this low.
We are going insane.
And that is one of the subjects that I'll be covering as I speak frankly.
President Trump isn't thrilled by the rate cut announced by the Federal Reserve. Trump tweeted that Fed Chair Jerome Powell, quote, let us down by announcing the quarter-point rate cut yesterday. He said that the market wanted to hear that the Fed was beginning a lengthy and aggressive rate-cutting cycle to keep pace with China and other countries. Trump has been critical of Powell since he raised the key interest rate last year. Powell called the rate cut a mid-cycle adjustment and not the start of a trend. I, as many others, have called for increasing, not decreasing, the interest rate. And I will remind you that President Trump himself appointed Jerome Powell. And finally, the Trump administration reports that for the first time they are open to the idea of importing some lower-cost prescription drugs from Canada. During a call with reporters yesterday, Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar said, what we're saying today is we're open. There's a pathway. We can be convinced. This is the latest in the administration's ongoing efforts to lower prescription drug costs.
So that's what's happening.
Yeah, or that's what's happening. And Frank's there. I'm here. I don't think they want to go to the three-shot because we have this enormous guest in the studio today. And she's enormous in personality and stature, and she's a political behemoth. She's a giant, but we can't get the chair lower, so she's going to tower above Frank and I. It's New York State Assembly person Nicole Malliotakis joins us. Nicole represents my district in Staten Island, New York. Well, not my district. Frank will correct me on that a little later on. But she represents Staten Island and Brooklyn very ably, and she's making a concerted effort to knock Max Rose off as the congressman in the 13th Congressional District. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Miss Assemblywoman, how are you? Frank, I don't know if you know about this, but at the end of the show every day, I kind of make mistakes here and there once in a while, and we do a segment called What the Facts, WTF. And Frank corrects all my mistakes. So I already saw him start writing, so I would figure I said something wrong.
Well, you don't want to be fake news, so it's important you have a fact check, and I credit you for that.
That's right, and that's why we do it. And no one knows better than you how picayune this guy could be about every last detail.
Well, so the audience knows, for this is a seat that has national implications. It's one of the few seats, I can tell you with about 95% certainty, who's going to win 90% of all the congressional seats in the whole country. This is one of the handful of seats in the whole country that's legitimately competitive every 2 years. And this is one of those rare districts which President Trump won, but then was won by a Democrat in 2018. And so the audience knows the Assembly member and I have been friends long before she was an Assembly member. I happen to be supporting her 100%. Just so everybody knows that. But tell us a little bit about why it's so important for this seat and really the whole House of Representatives to be red again. What have we seen under the last 8 months or so of Speaker Pelosi's leadership?
Well, you know what, Frank, let me start with saying you're absolutely right in terms of how competitive this district is. Not only is it competitive, it leans Republican. Since 1981, this has been a Republican seat, minus Mike McMahon for 2 years, and now with Max Rose, who I don't believe is sharing the ideals of this district. And this is somebody that went to Washington, is voting with Nancy Pelosi, is voting with the squad to call our president a racist, to say that illegal immigrants, it's okay to be voting in municipal elections, refusing to say that Ilhan Omar should be removed from Foreign Affairs Committee, refusing to denounce Ocasio-Cortez's concentration camp comments. So it is prime for pickup. I hope to be the candidate that does that, having gotten 67% of the vote when I ran against Mayor Bill de Blasio in 2017. And I have to say that the reason it's so important is because the president needs a Congress that's going to work with him. You know, you need instead of investigate, let's legislate. And I think that that's the bottom line here, is that it's not just about ensuring that the president wins in 2020. He needs to have a House that will work with him. And this current Congress has shown that they just want to play political games and not get anything done, securing the border, making sure we bring infrastructure money to our city here in New York City. And by the way, New York City doesn't have one voice on the federal level that's a conservative voice. I think that's important for that debate and in deliberation of ideas.
So one of the things that I thought was interesting about Max Rose's campaign when he ran in 2018 is he didn't run on national issues like taxes and national security and things like that. He ran mostly as if he was running for city council. He ran on kind of local issues. As you run in 2020, are you planning to make the race more nationally focused about these investigations, about national security, illegal immigration, things like that? Or are you going to take a page out of the Rose playbook and kind of focus on potholes and bread and butter issues like that?
Well, look, as an Assembly member, the local issues have been so important, and they're going to continue to be important, whether it's transportation, working to restore express bus service. That's been one of my things, recovery after Hurricane Sandy. We have a major seawall project on Staten Island. These are all very important issues. That's the reason why I want to go to Congress, is to bring those things to the district. But it is so important for the future of this nation. I mean, we're on a path right now, and now there's a fork in the road, right? Are we going to continue to be a country that preserves the American dream? As the daughter of immigrants who came to this country, I want to be a country that preserves the American dream. We have members of Congress right now that want to move us more towards socialism. They want to kill the American dream. And so that's the difference, I think. And when you vote for someone like Max, you're voting to keep Nancy Pelosi in control, and you're voting to keep in power individuals like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar. And more importantly, we need elected officials that are going to stand up and push back on them and their socialist squad agenda. And so, I'm not, me, I stood up to Shelley Silver in the Assembly, to Mayor Bill de Blasio. I'm not afraid to fight for my constituents and fight for the future of this country.
Hey, Nicole, Frank and I know you back in the days when you were first deciding to become a candidate, when we used to go to meatballs and martinis and talk about strategy. And you have a proven track record of knocking off incumbents, which you did with your first opponent, Janelle Heyer-Spencer. And now you're looking at an incumbent, and they're most vulnerable in their first term. And like Frank said, Max Rose ran on all these kind of local issues. There's really a national issue, and you've spent basically all your time in the legislature in New York in the minority, and you've not been fearful of standing up to Governor Cuomo. You ran against Mayor Bill de Blasio, where we have like a 5-1. Republicans are outnumbered like 5-1, but you took it to him. You made the fight. What do you intend on doing to Max Rose to expose him to this very Trump district? And we had on Jeff Webb, the founder of the New American Populist, and their mission is to take the 31 seats that Trump won but the Democrats won in the midterms, and make a grassroots effort to take those 31 seats back. What do you plan on doing to Max to get this seat back for us?
Well, I think it's exposing how he is voting with the squad. He votes with Nancy Pelosi. He talks conservative or tries to be a centrist in the district, but he does something else when he's in Washington. He says something else when he's on MSNBC, and it's exposing that I think, and people are catching on already in Staten Island. They're watching and they see what's happening, and I think there's a lot of disappointment there. One of the things that happened in the legislature this year, talking about being in a minority and having the battle, we stopped illegal immigrants from being automatically registered to vote. They did the New York State driver's license bill. That became law, unfortunately. It was as hard as you fought against it. But then what they did was a subsequent bill they tried to sneak through that would have allowed illegal immigrants or would have automatically registered them to vote. There's a mirror bill like that in Washington, which Max Rose is a sponsor of.
That's right.
That's number one. All right, trying to use taxpayer money, trying to pass that on the federal level to match his campaign. Not voting for a resolution to condemn illegal immigrants voting in municipal elections. These are positions that are out of sync with this district, which is why this is one of the biggest pickup opportunities for Republicans in not only New York, but in the nation. And I want your viewers to go to NicoleForNewYork.com and see more about my campaign, how they can be involved.
You have to go to NicoleForNewYork.com and check out all of our views and thoughts and the things that she's going to bring to America if she gets elected to the Congress. Max is a snake. And I went to his town hall, and he literally told the people at the town hall that he did not vote for illegal immigrants to vote. And the little nuanced thing, you guys at home, the Republicans try to put something in there to say, hey, we will use all our efforts to stop illegal immigrants from voting, and he voted against that, right? So yeah. he kind of flipped the...
Right, he condemned Ilhan Omar, but then the very same day he was calling her a friend with who he shares values with, and people of the district and the people of America should know what values those are, number one. Number two, he refuses to say that she should be removed from the Foreign Affairs Committee, as I have said. He refuses to denounce AOC concentration camp comments, which are completely outrageous and inappropriate. I have. So there's definitely there's definitely a difference there that we're going to be pointing out moving forward.
There's a big change coming. Hopefully you go to NicoleForNewYork.com and hear more about Nicole Malliotakis. She's a great assembly person. She'll be great in Congress. Coming up in our effort to make television great again, on the menu to mix it up back again, John Burnett and David Eisenbach. Back in 2 minutes.